Hi, I'm Natalie, and this is the So Hungry Hippie YouTube channel. And today we're just going to have some freestyle fun sewing. I'm going to use 2 of our fabric canvases and no interfacing, no hardware. You can do this no matter what material you're using. If you're doing quilting cotton, you will probably want to interface it so it has a little bit more body and structure. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's line up these strips. Don't worry about those starch spots, they will come out. So place them right sides together as best you can and then sew along this edge. If you press it first, it can help the fabric stick together a little bit. You could also use pins or clips. There we go. And then we'll repeat that process with the next strip. You can do whatever color combination you want to. If I can help you at all, try to do it the same for both sides because then it won't drive your eyes crazy. Okay, and strip. At this point, you might want to start using pins or clips. It can get a little bit more difficult. Yep, I'm bringing the pins out. Try not to pull on the fabric strips as you're sewing. Just let the feed dogs do all the work, because it can be easy when it gets to this point to pull. And there we go. Back over. You can decide whether you want 4 or 5 strips. It'll just depend on the overall look you want at the end. Here's the last one. And just try to stay as consistent as possible with your seam allowance. All right, let's get to pressing. So what I do most of the time is if I have 2 dark fabrics together, I will press the seam open. If I have a light and a dark fabric, I'm going to press that seam allowance towards the darker fabric. So it is your choice, your preference. It doesn't really matter. I just don't want you to have any shadowing showing through to the front of the bag. And so for that cream strip and then the contrast bottom, you want to be sure to press those seam allowances towards the darker fabric, like I am here now. Sometimes I'm attempting to open the seam and press it open, but I just didn't take that big of a seam allowance on this bag. So there it is. And then we'll trim up these strips and take care of all that later. Don't worry too much. We cut it wider than we want it for this very reason. Tori snoring. Okay, let's add the contrast bottom. And you can see that I'm winging it here because I'm making this up as I go. But for you, just follow the cutting chart and starch and press the wrinkles out. And then we'll cut the pieces and sew it. Again, if you have any really persistent bumps or wrinkles in the fabric, just press it with super hot iron. Use a little starch or water and it'll help relax those wrinkles. Our bag is going to be lined, so please don't worry about any fraying going on. We're never going to see it. And if you happen to wash your bag, we won't see that either. So what I was pointing to on that cover is on that navy blue and white bag, I only did 4 strips. On this one, I'm doing 5 strips. See how I'm pressing that seam allowance up towards the blue? That's to prevent shadowing. And then just square everything up, trim it to shape. Here I'm thinking about, oh, do I want to fold it down on the inside? No, we're just going to keep going. We're going to make the other side now exactly this way. I'm trimming off a tiny smidge up here at the top, about 1/4 of an inch, because it was not cut perfectly straight. So I'll just do that to the other side and rock and roll. Everything will be fine. Now I need to find some webbing. Okay, so for these colors, I'm going to use our natural cotton webbing. And if you sew it on now, it's easier than waiting till the end on this one, at least for the style that I'm doing. Let me consult my 10-year-old pattern here for a minute. Option B. Oh, B doesn't go all the way down to the bottom. And A does. Okay, that's all right. We're gonna go all the way down. So let's go overhead. One, two, three, four. 4 is kind of the magic area for me as far as how it looks on the finished bag. I just really gravitate towards 4 inches in. 1, 2, 3. There's that one. And you can make these handles however long or short you want to make them. Here's my hot tip. Do this to make sure that your handles are the same length. Or you can measure, but this is faster. Now we have 2. And do it again. Like straighten it all out, no lumps or bumps, because look what can happen. Now they're exactly the right length. Okay, now let's go back overhead and place these. Now you can use pins or double-sided sticky tape. Because this is all cotton that I'm working with, I'm gonna do the pins. Now I do pin it up here, but we don't sew all the way up. Okay, we're gonna stop at this, where this seam line right here, that's where we're gonna stop sewing. I'll do a little thing to remind myself. And then make sure your strap is not twisted. And you come down over on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's line up these straps. They are 4 inches from the raw side edge. And we're not gonna sew further than that first seam. So I draw a yellow chalk mark, and that's where you're gonna stop, pivot, and go down the other side. Do not sew the webbing all the way up to the very tippy top, because that'll be too hard to put the bag together later. If you can use a matching thread, it will look amazing. Remember, I'm using the pink so you can see what I'm doing, hopefully. And there we go, and we'll repeat that for the other side. All the way up to that mark, and over, and back down. And then repeat this for the other side of the bag. Now I didn't put a pocket on the front of this one, but you certainly could. Let's do 1.25. That's a really nice size corner. Not too big, not too little. Now, when you put these together, the most important thing is you want to match up these side seams and nest them. So one seam will go up, one will go down, and then when you put your pin in, catch both angles or sides of that seam so it doesn't twist or move on you when you're sewing this together. You can manipulate these seams a bit, so don't freak out. A lot of times, depending on which direction you press the seam allowance, you can fudge having everything meet up perfectly. You can make it work. Okay, and now this one. All right, now let's do this side. There's usually a direction the seams want to sit naturally, and as long as it helps my lines match up, I'm fine with sewing it any which way. But you've got to catch both sides with that pin, or it'll move on you. Yes, you can do this with vinyl and cork as well. You just use clips instead of the pins, or double-sided sticky tape. Okay, let's do that. And I did trim the one side of my coral, the top, and I forgot to trim this side, so I'm just going to catch it really quick. It wasn't very much that I have to trim, but let me do that before I forget. Now they match up. Okay, let's sew the sides and along the bottom, and then we'll box the corners. We're gonna drop the lining in, so don't worry. You don't need to leave an opening down here right now. Oh, and make sure that your webbing is lined up. And yes, it will be thicker where we're sewing over that area, but if you've got a hump jump or if you've got a machine that can handle some layers, it won't be an issue. If your machine cannot handle layers, then just fudge it by skewing the webbings. Make them kind of sit like this. Does that make sense? So like one would be slightly flayed this way and one would be slightly flayed this way at the bottom, so that it's not just one big hump. Or you can simply leave it out of the bottom seam, but you risk seeing the bottoms that way. Okay, here we go. sewing right by my pins, not over them. All right. I'm going to test if this corner is big enough. Maybe I should have done 1.5 inches. The good part is I can always change it. I can always cut a bigger corner, but I can't fix too big of a corner once I've cut it. Okay, let's sew across here. Check all my seams. So make sure to take out all your pins. Good. Yeah, I like that size. That's a good corner. Okay, let's do the lining now. That's awesome. I love it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna do a natural lining inside. You can cut both at the same time, hopefully. Maybe if I turn it. All right, let's press it. Okay, let's put a pocket in here. I think I'm just going to use this. How big do I want it? And I think I just want it for my phone and keys. So that's 8 inches wide and about 19 and a half tall. And what I'm gonna do is sew these sides and leave this open for turning. Now a pocket can be any size you want it to be. I know that for me, I like to have it for my phone and keys. Those are really the only things that I constantly am looking for in my bag. Okay. And I think at the top I'm going to bind it just for a little pop and detail. And it will be really easy. We can do the cheater method binding because it's fast and it'll work. Just press this. Okay, what color binding should I do? This one? I'm going to cut this strip to 2.5. And then I only need it, let's do this for the width. And then we're going to fold it like we do double bias, double wide, extra wide double fold bias. Like the Wrights packaged stuff. If you have the Wrights packaged stuff and you want to use that, go ahead. It'll be super easy. And this is what I mean by the cheater method. We're just going to lay it in here. You can use double-sided sticky tape if you like, if it makes you feel more secure in there. I'm just going to use my stiletto. I think it'll hold. Fine. Okay. You could tuck that under if you want to, but a little fray check right here will keep it from fraying. It'll be absolutely fine. Looks like I have fray block. Oh, my whole cap came off. Yikes. Oh, I need to clean my cap. Oh. A little bit goes a long way. All right. Let's see here. I need to mark the tops of my and this is, so it's this way. Top. Oh, this one isn't perfect, but it's close enough. Yep. Top. Now if I do a centering crease, it'll be easy to place my pocket. Do it right there. You know, I could have pulled this side seam out a little better. I should have used my easy point and press tool. See how when you don't pull the seam out, it looks like it's curving? That's just a pressing issue, and I know better than that. So I'm going to take one of my short pins, because it won't break like my long ones might, and I'm going to pull that seam out, because that'll bug me. I've made enough bags to have a more keen eye on what I'm doing. As a beginner, you would not notice that, and please don't get hung up on little details like that, because most people don't notice. But if you want to be aware, there you are. That's why I bring this up. And no, I'm not going to edit things out like this, because we're all human, and you should know nobody's perfect. Nobody does everything perfectly, ever. Nobody. That one's a little better. There. Okay. Now I'm going to place this one to about 2.5 inches down and center crease on centering crease. And that's a good way to just make sure it looks good in the end result. Okay. Oh, that one, see how I picked up that fabric too much? Okay. I'm going to sew down the sides and across the bottom. You know what? This is a good place to put in your little tag, like right here. Let's see if I've got one. I have a bunch at home. Here's one. I can use this one. And I'm just going to pin it in there and sew it down all at once. So see how cute that'll look? And it says, I was made for you. Aww. You can use double-sided sticky tape to hold it in there temporarily, whatever works for you. All right. Let me get my cords out of my way here. And let's sew this down. A nice big pocket. My phone won't be falling out of that. Okay, take a quick breather to put things away. Now the question is, do I want a second pocket or do I just want the one? Do I want one on the other side or not? I don't think I do. Don't be mad at me. I don't think I do. All right, let's put the lining together. And then we need to do our corners. Let's see, 1, 2, 5. Okay. Sides, bottom, and then the corners. Why does my bobbin sound so weird? How we're gonna fit here. Let's take our exterior and put it inside, and don't get caught up on your pocket. And what you want to do is make sure that your handles are stuffed down in between the layers. You don't want them sticking out like this, because then you won't have a handle to use. And then what I like to do is shake it around a bit and match these side seams first, nesting them again. And I catch both seams with my pin. Then I turn this to the other side and do this side seam. Then I work around the top. And if at this point, if anything isn't fitting correctly, it's not a big deal. We can take this out and re-sew any seams we need to make the bag fit. It should be okay as long as you've stayed, what is that word? Consistent. Throughout your sewing. Should be all right. Sometimes this seam wants to move a little bit on you, so just Repin it. It's all right. When I first started sewing, I had to like fit the bag 2 times just to get my pins in the right place and all that. I think it's just over time you understand that fabric, it just behaves certain ways sometimes, and you just have to unpin and repin until you get it right. And a lot of times prep makes the difference in a professional looking bag and one that really looks like you just maybe learned how to sew. But you know what? Getting in there and doing it is the most important thing by far. And you're going to be your own worst critic. Everybody else is going to think you're so magical. All right, let's sew around the top here. All right, now I'm just gonna unpick the very bottom of this by just a little bit. Or a lot. My favorite part. I'm going to push these corners out really nicely. Okay, and then I'm going to fold the bottom under and just machine sew that shut. This is what I do most 99% of the time. Like if I'm entering a bag into a show or something, which I don't even do, but if I were to, I might hand sew this shut. Then again, I'm not sure I really care, because my stuff gets used, you know? Okay, let's sew that shut. If you have a cream thread, you'll never ever see this. Remember, I'm using contrasting threads so you can see what I'm doing. And because I'm lazy with thread change. Yep. Make sure you caught all the sides. I'm going to go overhead so you can see. Where are my sharp scissors? I'm going to trim these threads. See how you can't even see it there? That's the bobbin. This is the other side where my top thread was. Canvas often has little hairs you have to just trim away. Now I'm gonna put this down into the exterior bag. We also want to make sure we're pushing our corners out. And then this is what happens a lot of times in bag making. See this top? It wants to, this is the top of the bag, this seam, and you have to kind of manipulate it. What I like to do is put some clips up here, and then I'll press it with the iron just to remind myself, like, okay, that's the top of the bag. a lot of times it wants to sit differently than that. And you didn't do anything wrong. It's just the way fabric is. So we just have to manipulate it out there. See how this wants to sit? Yeah, that's not right. So I have to push that down, pull up the exterior, probably hit it with my whacker hammer in a hot minute. And then we'll top stitch all the way around, and that will hold the bag in place where it is supposed to be. Just remember that you will have to come in and push your lining into place so that it's nice and fitted and flat. And if you want to, you can always tack the corners down by hand inside here. I don't find I ever need to do that. I could have taken a bigger seam allowance along that bottom edge to make it sit even flatter, but it's gonna be fine. I carry a whole bunch of crap back and forth between home and work, and this puppy's gonna get used. It'll be fine. And I won't lose my keys or my cell phone, which I love. I love listening to podcasts and audiobooks when I drive. I find that it really lessens my road rage. Instead of shouting cuss words now and then, I just give them a smile. Because I'm in the midst of my excellent podcast or audiobook. No rage. All right, let's finish this up. Every now and then stop and adjust the bag. See why we didn't sew the webbing all the way up? Coming up to the side seam. Now, if you need to, bring your hammer in and give it a whack on your table, not on your sewing machine, but whack that seam down. Now, just like the cover shows, you could add a tag here if you wanted, or here. It would be super cute. But what a great gift. Very quick make. All canvas. This is all So Hungry Hippie fabric canvas. No interfacing, no hardware. You can sell these at your craft shows. Heck, walk around with one. Right? You can do it. You can totally do it. All right, get out your sewing machine and let's get going. Peace, love, sewing.